felicitate and a token of gratitude for our very special guest who has come all the way from Australia. I also wish to invite the additional Chief Secretary, Shri E.V. Ramana Reddy, to please come on stage. Chadden is a father of 3. He needs to go back to Australia. So how did you like Bangalore this time?
Oh, I love it. It's always lovely being back here. I jumped off the plane and ran straight for a masala dosa.
I hope you get to have more
thank you
masala
very much.
dosas.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, the very first speaker, ladies and gentlemen, Chadden Hunter,
Thank you so much.
who came for us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Dr. Nirani, as well as Mr. Ramana Reddy. Iga, the hall is looking even more beautiful. It's getting filled up. You might want to tell your friends who are standing outside. If I could have the mic, this podium mic switched on as well, please. Mattomme swagata, Atmiya swagata, hardika vandane ellarigu. Karyakramada mundina bhaga innashtu kshanagalalli. While I wait and we set the stage for our very special guests who will join us in the next few minutes, maybe give ourselves a little more context. The lockdown, the pandemic that changed their lives, or life as we knew it, the world over, also brought to the forefront an unprecedented display of sharp business prowess. Everything's got to have a silver lining, isn't it? And a clearer understanding of market gaps, a deep focus on innovation, and the spirit of driving change. As the world returned to normal, ladies and gentlemen, who was it who were the change drivers focused on kick-starting the global economy anywhere in the world? It was the entrepreneur. May we hear it, a round of applause for all the entrepreneurs right here in this auditorium, in this space, and across the globe. Which is why today, a very special guest who's going to be speaking about innovation and entrepreneurship in the post-pandemic season, I'm going to be inviting on stage, but I'll take a moment to check with the organizers if we are ready indeed. I'm told they are ready, and therefore we have a thumbs up sign. Please join me in welcoming on stage the founder of Zuckerberg Media, Ms. Randy Zuckerberg, in conversation with the former India lead at Morgan Stanley, Sri Narayan Ramachandran.
I'm going to introduce our guest, Randy, differently. She is, of course, the famous sister, and we will get to ask her questions about that soon. But before I do that, let me say to you that in addition to all the accomplishments that you see in your packets, Randy is a mother of 3 children. She's a Web3 entrepreneur, and she is the author of 5 books, 3 non-fiction books, and 2 children's books. The latest of these books, written a few years ago, is called Pick 3 and has an unusual angle to it, which is, can I call it prioritized imbalance or lopsidedness or whatever you like. So we'll get back to the topic of that book in a short while. But I want to begin by asking Randy, is this your first trip to India, Karnataka, Bangalore, and what are your impressions?
Thank you. Well, first of all, it is such a pleasure to be here, and I hope that you're not feeling too disappointed that you've gotten the other Zuckerberg today. But hopefully by the end of our time together, you'll forget that that other guy even exists at all. But I've actually traveled extensively around India, but this is my first time in this region. So I'm delighted to be here after so many years of having remote work with the Facebook office here, with so many investments and global partners. It's really a delight to actually be here in person. I was supposed to travel here a few years ago, but of course with the global lockdowns, this is my first time back in the country. So what a delight. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd love to tell you that Karnataka, I mean, beyond the Bangalore that you know from your Facebook days, Karnataka offers, wildlife, the topic of the conversation that just went by. Karnataka offers architectural wonders, food from, a variety that's just amazing. So please do come back and make sure that you experience the state in its fullest splendor.
Yes, thank you. Well, now I have a lot of new friends here.
So let me try to set the context with a couple of your experiences, if I may. And I'm going to begin in the Zuckerberg household. I'm sure some of us would like to get a little glimpse into how it was. So think of this little place just a little bit north of New York City where you grew up with, was it 3 other siblings, 4 of you?
Yes. For a big household.
Big household, yeah. And your father was a dentist and your mother was a psychiatrist.
Yes, 2 doctors. So growing up in a Jewish family is very similar to growing up in an Indian family, as I've been told.
So tell me more about how that is so, and what lessons of entrepreneurship were evident, maybe post facto, but evident after the fact in your household in New York State.
Yes, well, so to set the scene for everyone, my father's dental office was the ground floor of our home, and then we lived right above it. So I got very used to the sounds of a dental office, but if I ever had friends over to visit, they would jump out of bed in fear at the sound of a dental drill going off at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'd be like, don't worry, that's just the dentist's office. But I guess that maybe that's not a normal childhood to have those sounds. But growing up with 2 parents who were both doctors, who loved science and medicine, we discussed innovation all the time in our household. We were always discussing new research breakthroughs. My parents were always experimenting with new technology and reading really interesting developments in their field. So we were all very lucky to grow up in a household that valued science and valued innovation and research from a young age. And I would go and work in my dad's office after school and on the weekends, so I was exposed to all of that from a young age.
So there is this report of your brother Mark having built a messaging system for the household. Is this actually true? And did you participate in it? And
yeah,
did you send it?
He was always building crazy things, and my dad was always trying out the latest devices alongside of him. I remember I came home one day from school and my dad had this giant setup of multiple computers, and he was like, Randy, you sit here, Mark, you sit here, and then I'm going to switch your smiles. Now today you can do that with an Instagram filter and a Snapchat filter. It took, a giant computer setup to do that back in the 80s, but that was the kind of household that we grew up in. So you can see how a lot of the things that my brother went on to build, that I've gone on to build, started at that early age.
So I think the message to everyone is there is no specific kind of household, but whichever household you're in, engage the curiosity and the exploration, and you can become an entrepreneur of the type of Randy and Mark and others.
I think the one thing that I will give my parents credit for is that it would have been very easy for both of them to try to force all of us into medicine. That's what they knew. But I think they realized very early that the careers that we would have didn't even exist yet. And so they really had a value in our household, like you said, of being open-minded and curious and being open to new careers that would come about. And I really, now that I'm a mom myself, I really appreciate that.
Terrific. So fast forward a few years, you got this call to go from the East Coast to the West Coast to the United States. You expected it to be a very short duration thing.
Yes.
You ended up staying for, was it 10 years or so at Facebook?
Yeah, so just to give a little background, I graduated from Harvard University, which I know is an obnoxious thing to say, but that other Zuckerberg didn't graduate from there, so I feel like I have to brag a little. I actually really loved music. That has been my passion my whole life, but again, Jewish parents, so I decided to focus on business instead. And I wound up at an ad agency after college where they were starting this tiny startup inside the ad agency called digital marketing. I didn't know what that was. No one knew. And I suddenly found myself in the heart of the growing internet business in the early 2000s. And so when I got a call from my brother saying, "Hey, Randy, I have this little company I'm building out in Silicon Valley. I could really use someone who knows digital marketing," I decided to help him out. And I thought I would be out in Silicon Valley, as you mentioned, for a few days, giving him some advice. And I was so excited by the entrepreneurial culture that I found out there that I ended up staying for more than 10 years.
And tell us about Facebook Live, how you came upon the idea, and I take it you're sort of the author of Facebook Live, so tell us a little bit about Facebook Live and how that happened.
Sure.
And perhaps it has some implications for all of us who hope that one day we will become entrepreneurs like you did. So.
Absolutely. Well, for any of you who have picked up a phone and live streamed, I'll tell you how it got started. When I joined Facebook, there were about 12 people. We were a tiny little company, and we had a lot of the same issues that startups around the world have, where it's hard to find resources, to hire people. Innovation is tough when you have only 12 people and you're already stretched very thin. So we would do these hackathons where everyone in the company, and then we would invite people around Silicon Valley to come and just work on dream projects and pitch them. And so at one of these hackathons, this was back in 2010, the iPhone had recently come out. I know you're very familiar with Apple. And I started to dream about a world where every single one of us is a movie studio and every one of us is a production company. So at one of these hackathons, I decided I wanted to try to live stream, only you couldn't do that from your phone in 2010. I had to have 4 guys wearing giant backpacks of technology, and I was able to stream live, interviewing people at the hackathon, and I thought, this is going to be so amazing. And then only my mom and dad watched. That's it, 2 people. And I got so bummed out, I left the hackathon early. I didn't even stay to present the idea. And I thought, Facebook Live is dead. But a few weeks later, I got a call from a top talent agency in LA, and they said, we saw that Facebook is launching a television show. We want some of our celebrities and our pop stars to go on it. And that started a whole I realized that day that there were so many celebrities, personalities, business organizations that really wanted to connect with their fans and their audience on a deeper level. So we did the first ever Facebook Live broadcast in 2011 from Facebook's headquarters. And about 6 years later, the technology finally caught up, and a live streaming button launched to 2 billion people around the world. So it was an exciting journey, but it also is a reminder that anything that looks like an overnight success probably took many years of hard work in order to get there.
Terrific, yeah. So now I'm going to forward a little bit further.
Perfect.
and ask you the question about what some of the entrepreneurs in the room, particularly those who are exposed to venture capitalists from Bangalore, will know, and it's called the pivot.
Yes.
So tell us about your pivot. You got a call from someone that changed your life completely again.
Yes. Well, I mentioned a few minutes ago that my dream was to study music. And I kind of gave up on that dream early in life, even though it was my passion. And out of the blue, I was in my early 30s. I got a call in my living room from the producers of a Broadway show, an 80s rock musical on Broadway, asking if I wanted to come star in their musical. They were looking for a technology personality who could sing. And so after all of that, after going to college and wanting to study theater but not, and having this 10-year journey in Silicon Valley, I moved back to New York City and actually starred in a Broadway show for several months. I know that is a wild career pivot to go from the front lines of Web 2 and social media to being an actress. But it gave me a totally new perspective. I had been building tools for creators for the last decade without ever actually being a creator myself. And once you walk in the footsteps of an actual creator, it opens your eyes and your mind up a lot to the opportunity there. So it really fed. I like to say that I have an entrepreneur brain and an artist heart.
Terrific.
Thank you.
That's the best combination. So I'm going to do something that I hadn't scripted, and I don't think I even scripted with you. Since we're live, can you sing us a note?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I mean, we have not had enough to drink, I don't think, for this to happen, but let's go for it. My big solo was Hit Me With Your Best Shot from the 80s. So, hit me with your best shot. Why don't you hit me with your best shot? Fire away.
Terrific. Thank you. I would just
I don't think that might be a first, like a investing business conference, to be like belting out 80s rock music on stage. I love it.
I just got excited with the word live and said I might as well experiment with a little bit. So thank you for that, and sorry for putting you on the spot.
Next time I have to have a vocal warm up backstage.
We'll get you warm water and the whole thing, and we'll invite you back to do the whole show. But there are a few serious people in the audience, so let me ask you one or two serious questions.
Perfect. I can do serious also.
Okay. So tell me what innovation means to you, what entrepreneurship means to you, and do you see a distinction, or they sort of coexist?
Yeah. I love talking about innovation, and I think there are several kinds of innovation. There's innovation where you are actually taking the time to sit and think about the future and actively plan for developments in the future. But then there's the realistic kind of innovation that most of us find ourselves in because we're so busy, and that is the innovation that you're forced to do because the world is suddenly changing around you. So if I can share a story that I think was one of the most pivotal moments, I remember the exact day the iPhone launched because it completely changed everything in Silicon Valley. A month before that, we had 90% of our customer base on desktop and laptop computers. 2 months after the iPhone came out, 50% of our user base was on mobile. And very few Silicon Valley companies even knew what to do with mobile. No one had engineers who were trained in building mobile apps. And so about half the companies in Silicon Valley said, we're just going to wait this out. We're going to wait for normal to come back. And about the other half of companies said, no, this is the new normal, and we need to innovate and change our business. And I'm smiling as I say that because that's the same language people used during the pandemic. Many years later, people either said, we'll wait for life to go back to normal, or no, we'll innovate to the new normal. And it made our business so much better to retrain and mobile and prepare. But that wasn't innovation that we had planned for, but it was, we suddenly found ourselves in a world that had changed overnight. And that was such a pivotal moment for me in my career. And so I think when the global pandemic happened, it felt like a familiar moment. So I think a lot of innovation really happens as reactions and the resourcefulness of humans to react to major changes around us.
So maybe we can go there for a minute, since the title has the word post-pandemic in it.
Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest sort of adaptations that people will need to make in the years to come?
Yeah.
Beyond the obvious, I mean, we get a lot of writing about work from home and stuff like that, but
Yes.
beyond that, what do you think, what kind of mindset do people need to exist in this new world?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I can't say enough how glad I am that we are back in person. I think we all hit a point where if we had to do one more video conference chat, we were all just going to lose our minds. And it's so wonderful to be back in person with other people. But I think we really saw every industry changed. The global supply chain just was massively disrupted. It caused so many industries to rethink manufacturing and shipping and the supply chain. Entertainment shifted overnight. People no longer went to movie theaters. They consumed entertainment in totally different ways. Education, I think we saw around the world how broken the education system, how much we rely on schools.
in it.
Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest sort of adaptations that people will need to make in the years to come beyond the obvious? I mean, we get a lot of writing about work from home and stuff.
Vision what the house will look like in 5 years. You also have a lot of people who are scared, who want to wait and see, who aren't sure what the future of the internet looks like that way. So I think all of those approaches are valid. There's certainly been a lot of ups and downs with cryptocurrency and NFTs. There have been some really exciting things. There have also been a lot of bad players in the space that have ruined the reputation of the space for a lot of the good innovation that's happening. And it will need some time to shake out. So the capital is there if you're willing to look hard enough and you're willing to find people that share a long-term...
about work from home and stuff like that, but
yes.
Beyond that...
You know, it's not going to be immediate gratification. These things don't get built tomorrow.
Again, in Bangalore, there are a lot of, I don't know, TikTok type of firms, some of whom I presume are represented here, who are sort of the kings of the Web 2.0,
Yes.
potentially making this transition to Web 3.0. And I think you met some yesterday, but we also have all the venture capitalists in India, or many of the venture capitalists in India are here. Some of the growth capital guys are distributed in Bombay as well, but the venture capital industry is substantially present in this city. So in that sense, it's very much a mixture of Palo Alto and Sand Hill all in one city, so for us.
Yes, it's very exciting, and I think even very lucky in a way, because in the U.S., the tech industry is really spread out over several cities. You have Austin, Texas, Silicon Valley, New York, Miami are all hubs. It's actually very lucky to have a technology hub that's all centered around one place. And I was very fortunate yesterday to be able to tour several venture capital offices and entrepreneur and meet with quite a few people in the ecosystem that I could pack into one day. And I was really blown away by just how much the infrastructure has improved since the last time I've traveled here. The payments and commerce, how it's exploded, and really just the entrepreneurial spirit is very exciting.
Since you engaged your creative soul, let me ask you, what do you think the future of NFTs is?
Yeah.
And is it, I mean, I less from a technical point of view and more from the point of view of society, what role might NFT play, if at all?
Yes. Well, a lot of the work that I do in this space, and I run a company called Hug, which is one of the biggest creator communities. So we have a lot of artists who have built a big following in Web 2 or creating physical art that are curious about Web 3. So they've come to join us for education and to dip their toe in that water. And there's a few reasons why artists are really loving Web 3. A lot of artists, they might sell a painting, but they never really know who they've sold it to. Or a gallery sells it and they never see their work again. They don't know if it wound up in an office or someone's house, or if it traded hands 5 times with family members. They just don't know. But with Web3, we're starting to see artists that are building really meaningful relationships with collectors. They suddenly have their own community. And on the collector side, we all have an expertise in something. Maybe you're the kind of person who recommends restaurants. Maybe you have great taste in music, and all of your friends come to you for that. You could give them advice, and you look cool. People think it's awesome. You give great advice, but there's no upside for you in that advice. Whereas with Web3, if you discover an artist or a musician or a business early, you actually participate in the upside as that business or that artist gains in popularity. So we're starting to see, with Web 2, it's very one-sided. Creators broadcast out to fans, and the fans just passively consume it. Whereas with Web 3, we're seeing these meaningful communities where creators and fans are working together and participating in the upside of a business together. And that's not something that I've really ever seen. Again, we're very at the early days, but that for me was the glimmer of excitement that got me to dive all in on Web 3 right now.
I think if all of you were to take something away, can I paraphrase and say that Web 3 will come?
Yes.
We're still in the very early stages, but it will have implications that sort of boggle the mind today.
Absolutely. I mean, just look at how the creator economy has exploded over the past few years. We now have hundreds of millions of people around the globe who participate making content. If you talk to young kids today, they'll tell you they want to be a YouTuber or they want to go into esports and gaming. And so that train has left the station. This young generation, they are thinking of themselves growing up as content creators, and they will want to monetize that, and they will want to own their audiences. And so it's just a matter of time before the creator economy takes on this new level.
So I'm going to give you the last word of a message to everybody from New York or from California, from the famous Zuckerberg family. What would you like to leave our audience with? And then with that, we'll close.
Gosh, well, I guess what I'd like to say is that when I got on that plane out to California to work at my brother's little company, I didn't think of myself as an inventor or as a creator. I thought of myself as a marketer behind the scenes who is helping someone else with their vision. But once I was exposed to a culture of entrepreneurship and innovation, here I am sitting here almost 20 years later, having founded multiple companies of my own now and doing things that I never dreamed of when I got on that plane. So for any of us sitting out there who have an entrepreneur brain and an artist heart, I truly can't wait to return here to this region and to see the amazing things that all of you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I'd request our esteemed guests to stay back for a moment.
What do you think? What kind of mindset do people need to exist in this new world?
The speaker that we've had today deserves a special round of applause. Thank you for the session. And of course, lots of love coming your way. May I request the Minister, Shri Murugesh Nirani, to please step up on stage and offer a token of gratitude both to Randy as well as Mr. Narayan Ramachandran, who moderated and steered this conversation so well. So, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿರುವಂತಹ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರಿಗೂ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. There are new people who've joined in since morning. It's delightful to be able to see you. There are more sessions that await us, and I'll tell you about that in a bit. But meanwhile, I can see Sri Ramana Reddy as well as Mrs. Gunjan coming up to extend their token of gratitude to Randy Zuckerberg, founder of the Zuckerberg Media, who has come here as our very special guest at the Global Investors Summit, ladies and gentlemen. As the conversation goes on, let me remind all of you who are viewing this and you wish to post on social media, there are hashtags called Make in Karnataka, hashtag Build for the World, and hashtag KGIM. Lots of pictures and photo moments for you to take back, lots of food for thought as well. And we would like to thank Randy Zuckerberg for coming to Bangalore for this very special summit. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, after that very vibrant session, let me tell you a few things that are happening on different parallel stages. At 1:30 p.m. in Audi 2, please make a note, Hall 2, we will see a dynamic Indo-French investor interaction on the various opportunities for growth and challenges across sectors, along with SME investment experience being shared by eminent dignitaries, and that's a very interesting session one can vouch for. You can also come back to the same plenary hall where we are. Illi nadiyuವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ, Drum Jam by Bangalore's very own Vasundhara Das, and it's going to be facilitated by Roberto Narayan. At 2:30 p.m., Audi 3 will have a session, and this is on India's self-reliance on the aerospace and defense sector. At 3:30 p.m. in Audi 3, please do not miss a compelling discussion on the energy ecosystem. And end of the day, I'm going to see you at 6:30, where you can immerse yourself in Karnataka's culture with a very special Jugalbandi at 6:30 p.m. and a Yakshagana performance at 7:30 as well. To tell you a little bit more about the facilities, there are free buses available to experience this exotic special showcase at a one-of-its-kind exhibition curated with the best of artworks from across Karnataka. And how do you do that? Those who know Bangalore know NGMA very well. It is right next to Mount Carmel College. The National Gallery of Modern Arts, where you can experience the beauty of Swetoslav Rorik's paintings, puppet shows, as well as handicraft of Karnataka at the Chitrakala Parishad. CKP ಅನ್ನುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಥಳದಲ್ಲಿ you are going to see Karnataka's best of handloom and handicrafts display. That's something which you can make use of as well. And the buses are parked in the parking lot. The Global Investors Meet that you are in, the next session is starting in Audi 3. I might want to remind you once again, a session on driving India into the future, revolution in India's mobility. So there are all these very special programs that are happening here. So make use of the best ones, enjoy yourselves, hashtag and tweet across all social media, And I will see you back at the plenary hall for Vasundhara Das's session. But meanwhile, you have your choices to make. Namaskara Mattume from Vasanthi.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I can't say enough how glad I am that we are back in person. I think we all hit a point where if we had to do one more video conference chat, we were all just going to lose our minds. And it's so wonderful to be back in person with other people. But I think we really saw every industry changed. The global supply chain just was massively disrupted. It caused so many industries to rethink manufacturing and shipping and the supply chain. Entertainment shifted overnight. People no longer went to movie theaters. They consumed entertainment in totally different ways. Education, I think we saw around the world how broken the education system, how much we rely on schools.
In it.
Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest sort of adaptations that people will need to make in the years to come?
Yeah.
Beyond the obvious, I mean, we get a lot of writing about work from home and stuff like that, but
Yes.
beyond that, what do you think, what kind of mindset do people need to exist in this new world?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I can't say enough how glad I am that we are back in person. I think we all hit a point where if we had to do one more video conference chat, we were all just going to lose our minds. And it's so wonderful to be back in person with other people. But I think we really saw every industry changed. The global supply chain just was massively disrupted. It caused so many industries to rethink manufacturing and shipping and the supply chain. Entertainment shifted overnight. People no longer went to movie theaters. They consumed entertainment in totally different ways. Education, I think we saw around the world how broken the education system, how much we rely on schools.
In it.
Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest sort of adaptations that people will need to make in the years to come?
Yeah.
Beyond the obvious, I mean, we get a lot of writing about work from home and stuff like that, but
Yes.
beyond that, what do you think, what kind of mindset do people need to exist in this new world?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I can't say enough how glad I am that we are back in person. I think we all hit a point where if we had to do one more video conference chat, we were all just going to lose our minds. And it's so wonderful to be back in person with other people. But I think we really saw every industry changed. The global supply chain just was massively disrupted. It caused so many industries to rethink manufacturing and shipping and the supply chain. Entertainment shifted overnight. People no longer went to movie theaters. They consumed entertainment in totally different ways. Education, I think we saw around the world how broken the education system, how much we rely on schools.
In it.
Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest sort of adaptations that people will need to make in the years to come?
Yeah.
Beyond the obvious, I mean, we get a lot of writing about work from home and stuff like that, but
Yes.
beyond that, what do you think, what kind of mindset do people need to exist in this new world?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I can't say enough how glad I am that we are back in person. I think we all hit a point where if we had to do one more video conference chat, we were all just going to lose our minds. And it's so wonderful to be back in person with other people. But I think we really saw every industry changed. The global supply chain just was massively disrupted. It caused so many industries to rethink manufacturing and shipping and the supply chain. Entertainment shifted overnight. People no longer went to movie theaters. They consumed entertainment in totally different ways. Education, I think we saw around the world how broken the education system, how much we rely on schools.
In it.
Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest sort of adaptations that people will need to make in the years to come?
Yeah.
Beyond the obvious, I mean, we get a lot of writing about work from home and stuff like that, but
Yes.
beyond that, what do you think, what kind of mindset do people need to exist in this new world?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I can't say enough how glad I am that we are back in person. I think we all hit a point where if we had to do one more video conference chat, we were all just going to lose our minds. And it's so wonderful to be back in person with other people. But I think we really saw every industry changed. The global supply chain just was massively disrupted. It caused so many industries to rethink manufacturing and shipping and the supply chain. Entertainment shifted overnight. People no longer went to movie theaters. They consumed entertainment in totally different ways. Education, I think we saw around the world how broken the education system, how much we rely on schools.
In it.
Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest sort of adaptations that people will need to make in the years to come?
Yeah.
Beyond the obvious, I mean, we get a lot of writing about work from home and stuff like that, but
Yes.
beyond that, what do you think, what kind of mindset do people need to exist in this new world?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I can't say enough how glad I am that we are back in person. I think we all hit a point where if we had to do one more video conference chat, we were all just going to lose our minds. And it's so wonderful to be back in person with other people. But I think we really saw every industry changed. The global supply chain just was massively disrupted. It caused so many industries to rethink manufacturing and shipping and the supply chain. Entertainment shifted overnight. People no longer went to movie theaters. They consumed entertainment in totally different ways. Education, I think we saw around the world how broken the education system, how much we rely on schools.
In it.
Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest sort of adaptations that people will need to make in the years to come?
Yeah.
Beyond the obvious, I mean, we get a lot of writing about work from home and stuff like that, but
Yes.
beyond that, what do you think, what kind of mindset do people need to exist in this new world?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I can't say enough how glad I am that we are back in person. I think we all hit a point where if we had to do one more video conference chat, we were all just going to lose our minds. And it's so wonderful to be back in person with other people. But I think we really saw every industry changed. The global supply chain just was massively disrupted. It caused so many industries to rethink manufacturing.
And keep it moving. A lot of you are familiar with handheld phone gimbals now. You might use those little steady cams or see people using them with their phone. So that technology had finally become strong enough for us to use in wildlife filmmaking. Now, I'm not a cameraman, by the way. I'm not going to take any credit from any of my camera operator friends, but I was the only Muppet willing to sit on the front of this Jeep while I hurtled across the savannah. And all I had to do was hold these two handles. I didn't know what I was doing, but even though we were shaking around, these spinning gyro motors would keep that camera rock steady. So we were able to free the camera and let you, the viewer, travel in the footsteps of those animals as the animals might experience that habitat. Next time you're watching your favorite Bollywood film or DVD box set, look out for how many times that camera is moving. It's a device that we use in filmmaking to give things a bit more energy and a bit more emotion. And so we're using the moving camera a lot more in Planet Earth 2. Drones had also come along in leaps and bounds. Now, drones had been around for a long time, but they were really notorious and quite loud and quite big. They're finally becoming small enough and reliable enough that we could get them into more intimate locations. We also have thermal cameras that see heat instead of light. We could take a thermal camera to Mumbai, to the famous national park in Mumbai, and point it at pitch blackness where no human can see anything, but that camera can see the shape of the Mumbai leopards coming out of the darkness. So that's a little whirlwind of some of that technology. Now, the next clip I want to show you is a video that no one has seen outside of this setting. This is a very VIP treatment for you. It's never been on television, never been on the DVDs, but here is some of those toys in action.